Hello, CK.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, CK. How are you doing?
Good, good. Nice reconnecting again to do
Yes,
this series that's been going on for some time now.
correct.
Yeah, so the series that we've been doing around business coaching, and the last video was about small is a new big. And one of the things that came out was that is hiring driving your business growth? To us, hiring comes across as a very critical element of the business success. And today's video is more about that. And since Neetu comes with a lot of experience in recruitment, we were discussing a few possible areas where most entrepreneurs get affected or get stuck. And Neetu, would you like to just talk about those 4 or 5 questions, and then we talk about it briefly in the video.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, CK. So, to start with, I know the first question that always pops in the mind is that are you struggling to hire the right resources? Are you struggling to hire the right resources at the right time? Are you aware of the cost of a bad hire for your organization? Is your HR spending a lot of time doing replacement hiring? And ultimately, with all of these combined, is your hiring actually driving your business goals? So these are the top 5 questions I think a business owner should ask themselves to kind of ensure that they have identified the best HR strategies for their organization. Right. So now let's start with the first question. Is that are you struggling to get the right people in your organization? So to begin with, we need to know who are the right people. What kind of competencies, what kind of behaviors, what kind of capabilities should a person have, the right person have to be able to complete or the role that you want them to play in the organization. And the second thing that you need to think about is what is the average industry salary budget for that person. Now, keeping that in mind, only then you create that budget for the for the role. Quite often, there is a mismatch between the work that is expected from the person to do and the experience, the capability of the person who's hired. That's why it's not called a right decision, right? So it's important for you to be able to identify the budgets and allocate that budget separately. Say that yes, I need somebody to play this critical role in my organization, and then yes, I need to keep a budget for this much of budget for that critical role. Now, having identified the right person is next thing is, are we struggling to get the right person at the right time? Now, this invariably happens when hiring decisions are delayed or it's given at the end moment because maybe not hiring right now will save some money, but then at the nth moment when we start hiring, we are compromising on the person that we want to bring on board into our organization. It could be because there is no time or because there's not been enough of time to go and search for the right person, right? There's not been enough of time to do a background check, a proper interview, etc. So that's the stuff we're talking about, that be conscious about, are we struggling to hire the right resources at the right time? The next one is the cost of bad hire. CK, would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think cost of bad hire is something that one should ideally look at very seriously because I've quite often what happens is in the hurry to fill up a position because it's critical, we do compromise, and it's quite natural to compromise because you want the work to get done. And then it's quite possible that within 1 month or 2 months, like Neetu mentioned, that there could be a misfit between what you were actually looking for and what you actually hired. And then you find that things are not working out. The person also finds that, look, this is not the kind of place I want to be. There's a culture misfit. I'm not fitting into this whole place. And what happens quite often is I've seen it happening very often. And I think that's something that you could look at safeguarding against. It's about, if you're losing people in the first 2 to 3 months of your hiring, right? And then you got to again start hiring and rehiring. I think the cost of that is huge. And as entrepreneurs, the tendency is to not look at the cost of bad hiring. It's about 3 months or 6 months of productivity loss that often happens because of that. And also, it leads us to the next point in terms of because of this constant high attrition that keeps happening, right? Your HR tends to be always focusing more on hiring, right? And while instead of focusing on what they should be really focusing on, which is in terms of ensuring the right team, the right culture, the right accountability, the right appraisal process, the right recognitions, a lot of that time goes into searching for profiles, reaching out to competitors, and I think the productivity and effectiveness of HR itself is lost. So if you really roll back, I think the starting point was the first question that we asked. Yeah? Are you hiring the right people? The second one is hiring at the right time. And when both those don't happen, the cost is very high. And the result of that is that HR often ends up spending a lot of time, much more the time than they should be spending. So this was really the 4 points that, where we're not saying that people go wrong, but we're saying that this is the areas where you should be more aware and conscious about. Reflect back in terms of, where do you think in my organization this is happening? Is it happening? If it's not happening, great. But if it's happening, what can I do differently? And I think that is the whole idea of this video, is just to bring up that awareness of the cost you might be actually incurring because of bad hiring at the wrong time. Yeah, Neetu.
And that brings us to the very last point. As a business owner, right now, you are spending so much of time and effort on upgrading your marketing strategies, your product strategies, your channel strategies, your services strategies, and all the other pieces that you're trying to put in place. Now, underlining all of that are the people who are going to be executing that. So if your
Right.
people strategies is not actually upgraded, all the efforts that you're putting in every other aspect of your business are going to be nullified. And that's a challenge that we can actually address right away. So these are the 4 questions that we can look into, so that once all of these things are addressed, then you can now focus on managing those resources so that they are easily able to meet your business goals. And that's what we're going to be covering in our next video, which is all about how do you manage your people and the culture that you can build around for that.
Neetu, I'd just like to add one more point. I think this whole point about the business growth, hiring, driving business growth. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What I find quite often is that when you're talking about business growth, we're talking about reaching new geographies, launching new products, improving the experience of customers, opening new divisions, opening new countries, opening new channels. And each of them requires the right kind of people. So back to the first point, that the business growth ambitions of most entrepreneurs are very high. I want to grow 30%, I want to grow 40%, I want to improve my profitability, I want to improve my customer experience. But like you said, end of the day, people are the heart of it.
Get it.
And, obviously a lot of it is going to cover in the next video in terms of the whole people management and culture and attrition and management and all that. But linking up that the starting point of many of the problems for not achieving business growth may be with the hiring. And I think that's really what I want to summarize. It's because that is what we're going to actually be covering in the next video in a lot more detail, that once you've done the right hiring at the right time, then how do you manage them properly?
Right? Got that. Perfect. Thank you so much for that, and see you in the next video.
Thank you.